cramped. The land use is just maxed out, and I think this certainly gives us a lot of different opportunities, and I think this is one of the better things we've done as far as use of money since I've been on the board, so thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Other comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Dr. Miller, before you go forward, we have several policy issues for most of the rest of our agenda. Dr. Miller is responsible for those items D through I. They're
Yes.
all voting items. They're second readings on policies. So I will allow you to do these in a group and then have us vote as a group, or if you want to approach them in sections or individually, I mean, that's up to your discretion.
Well, we, of course, discussed these in some detail at our CAL meeting the last month. A month ago, we've had no feedback, negative or positively either way, on any of these. They're pretty routine. I think what most of these policies do is it clarifies and indicates board approval on a lot of things that were a little bit gray in the past. So I think this can be good moving forward in the future. And I would recommend that the policies be accepted as written in the second reading, unless we have specific questions.
Does any board member have a specific question regarding any of these policies and items D through I? Do we need further clarification, Ms. Haynes?
I don't have a question. I've just got a concern on the policy 9120, bidding for construction work.
Yes.
Is there any way when you put out the bids or the parameters to the vendors or the people who are going to be bidding, could you align that to, like, the deadline to our board meeting? So it will fall in line when we do have to vote. It's going to be at the board meeting. And I know things happen and sometimes it can't for whatever reason, but if we could kind of have that goal in mind. I know when you present to the county commissioners, they have a deadline and they're not forgiving.
Right.
So I just add that, my 2 cents on that.
Right, and that's a good point. And I talked to Mr. Jackson, and actually he does do that. He tries to align it with the board meetings. However, on some of our small projects where it might be only an 8-week project, 30 days could be a big difference if something comes in there. So usually it'll be a pretty much emergency situation, but we'll definitely, that's a good point, and we'll definitely continue to do that.
Dr. Miller, is there any thing in our bidding process that we try to deal with Iredell County businesses?
We always try to, as far as getting them into the bid process. Of course, typically you look at the lowest, best bid. It doesn't have to necessarily be the lowest bid, but typically it is. So we do try, I know Mr. Jackson and I both try to use local construction companies or vendors as much as possible. It's actually, in one of our policies here, the state of North Carolina has clarified that they would like to see North Carolina businesses used as much as possible in the bid process. So yes, we do that. We try to keep it as local as we can.
Okay, thank you. I hope so.
Yes, sir. And on the formal projects, local companies that can handle that size of job are welcome to bid on those. we encourage them. Okay?
Any other questions or comments? We can entertain a motion now to approve the policies and items D through I.
I'll make a motion that we accept as presented policies D through I.
Have a motion and a second by Ms. Haynes. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the
Thank
motion carries. Thanks, Dr. Miller. Next, we have policies from items J through T that were to be presented by Dr. Taylor, who I understand is attending a conference out of town. So, Mr. Johnson, are you doing those?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Cash, members of the board. Likewise, these policies were presented a month ago. They've been lying dormant now, and we have not received any feedback, positive or negative, from the public. I will point out that most of the policies that are being presented to you tonight are as a result of a ruling in North Carolina concerning the Leandro case. And if you'll remember, Judge Howard Manning, a lot of folks thought that he would probably go away as a result of the recession and the cuts to education, but he is still there advocating and fighting for children. The Leandro case, in a nutshell, the best explanation that I've ever heard was money cannot be, or lack of funds, cannot be a reason for not making student progress and helping kids to achieve their constitutionally guaranteed right to a free, appropriate public education. So all of these policies come to you tonight from the School Boards Association. They are all strongly recommended or required, with the exception of a few back on the back page that are optional. We talked about these in great detail in our committee meeting, but I will be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have concerning these.
Mr. Johnson, do these policies, requirements, and the Leandro rules apply to charter schools the same as it applies to public schools?
Yes, sir. They do.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments regarding these policies?
Dr. Cash, excuse me, I pointed out that on the last policy, not the last one, on 2400, just that the book of the Leandro decision is missing. So we just need to add, it's 346 NC 336, and it says that throughout the other cases, but it just got omitted somewhere there. So that just needs to be added in the actual policy.
Under the citations, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, under legal references. It's no big deal, but it just will clean it up and be more accurate. I mean, it's policy 2400, which is, yes. Yeah, they just left out the book number, it's 346.
Thank you for that correction. Any other comments or questions regarding the administrative policies?
Since since it was mentioned in a nutshell, could I ask, has it ever been put into a nutshell what he means by sound basic education? Is that a list of courses? Is that a grade policy? Is that a growth policy? Is that?
Yeah, I think what Judge Manning is looking for there is that children are proficient with the standard course of study in North Carolina.
Okay. No. I just know that when you say sound basic education, and the way we do data and figures, surely there's somewhere that somebody is comparing something that would fulfill his requirement. I've not really ever seen that, you know, as far as, except for, okay, with the sound basic education coming from the state of North Carolina.
Right.
Yeah, but, you know, that's so broad.
It is very broad. I think Judge Manning's heart's in the right place, and he's certainly advocating particularly for children that are academically challenged and children that come from poverty. But his expectation is that every child in North Carolina should be proficient with the curriculum that the legislature and the State Board of Education has approved.
Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the second readings of the policies from items J through T.
So moved.
Have a motion, Ms. Haynes, and second by Mr. James. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. So next we have item U, the update on the Cool Spring project. Mr. Jackson.
Dr. Cash, members of the board, Mr. Johnson, last week, my presentation to you showing you what we're going to be doing with the Cool Spring project. We purchased some land, and here's part of the thing. I want to show you somewhere where we've gone, kind of a start to it. This is what the property that we bought. This area right through here is the existing Cool Spring school site. And there's the building was put in '98. This is along Highway 64 right through here. So everything to the right of this red line, we bought 12 acres of land. It was 2 tracts. Actually, it's about 3 tracts, but the Wells was in 2 tracts of land. The Dagenhart was in 1 tract. So we now have a total of about 31 acres of land to work with. So in this process of trying to get the school built and everything, the new area goes way back in here with bus parking, ramps, slopes, everything. So they lost a lot of their playground area. After the school was designed and built, and then we bought this land, you try to have a balanced site on a construction site. So your fills and your cuts and all that kind of balance. We were inverted. We had to bring in a lot of dirt to start off with, and then we had to export lots of dirt to make it work, because as you remember, we've got two big mega units out in front to house the students while we build the building. So we had to get rid of this dirt. So in dealing with the contractor after buying this land, we're going to now take that area and the grading site on there looks like this. You've got several valleys that come through right in through here for slope. You've got a big high spot right up on here. You've got a large sloping area going down to a ravine down there. You got to make that area into playable fields. And so I challenged the civil engineer to take all of the dirt that we're going to take off the Cool Spring site and the dirt that we have on here and level it to the best of it. And I say level, not all one plane, but even if it's tiered, to get the maximum usage of ball fields. And this is what we've come up with to take that space out and create play area up in this area, a walking trail. This darker line, this hatched line, is a walking trail that goes around. You've got 2 big play fields that are 200 feet long by 100 feet wide, which will adequately support recreational activities for elementary kids. You also have a softball field that has a 200-foot plus fence area that will accommodate any kind of girls softball or Little League baseball. You have a blacktop area that will have basketball courts and foursquare and whatever else the PE teacher wants to put on there. And we've also got a playground area that will be up in here. We'll have a parking lot for recreational parking for parents coming off of 64. They also use some of the parking area here at the school. So we're taking all of that dirt and moving it out onto this land and being able to create more positive area for play area for all of the students at Cool Spring. All of this work fits within our budget. There is an additional work because of the moving of this, the seeding, the topsoil, the drainage, putting a sports turf field out there. We're not using standard Bermuda for ball fields because Bermuda is such a seasonal grass. Anywhere from mid-October through 1st of May, you have no grass. So this sports turf is a fescue type mix that we're going to be using. You should have at least 10 to 11 months worth of growing out of it. It should last a long time. So that's the plan. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Questions for Mr. Jackson?
Mr. Jackson, I want to thank you and Dr. Miller and the whole department. It's nice that you guys are very proactive in being conservative with what we do, getting us good quality stuff. And it's also nice, and I think this board supports the fact that our children, athletics and physical activity is a very important part of the overall education for our children. And I am very pleased that we are looking after that, and we are providing the youth at Cool Spring and our other schools with adequate facilities to live a healthier life. And I appreciate you being able to do this, and we always like hearing under budget. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks, sir.
I ditto Mr. Page's comments, but when will everything be done? Is it going to be finished by the start of next school year?
The ball fields will not be.
Right.
We have a priority. Phase 1 is to get into the school itself. Phase 2 starts the parking lot. Phase 3 will be underneath the mega units. So we're hoping Phase 2 and Phase 3 will be complete by the start of school. Phase 4 is now the ball fields. We hope to have all of that completed by the end of October.
Other comments or questions regarding the Cool Spring project? No, thank you a lot, Rob.
Thank you,
Again,
sir.
thanks you on behalf of the board for all you do. The last item on the non-consent agenda is item V, the refocus on the VPAC school. This was Dr. Taylor and Mr. Johnson's. Right. So, Mr. Johnson,
Right. Yes, for the last several months, the district has been discussing the idea of extending the curriculum there at VPAC to include a more concentrated effort on STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math course of study. This shift is in response to student demand, actual degrees that the children are earning there at Mitchell College. The expanded course offerings are scheduled to begin with the 2016-17 school year to better align the name of the school with the new emphasis that will be placed on the standard course of study there. We would like to bring the recommendation to the Board of Education tonight that the school be renamed Crossroads Arts and Science Early College. The district's recommendation for this name is supported by several ideas, and you see those listed there in your memo. It is the recommendation from the current VPAC staff and faculty, representatives of the crossroads in life that our students are entering when they begin their high school career, particularly early college students. It also is representative of the location of the school within the city of Statesville. And I believe that that slogan is part of the slogan of the city of Statesville, Crossroads of the Future. It is different enough, this new name that we're proposing to you from the existing name, that it will clearly help define the new vision and mission of the school. It connects with the existing mascot of the school, which is the Phoenix Rising. And it is representative of the new degree offerings in STEM education and related fields that the school will be pursuing. So our recommendation to the board is that we rename the school Crossroads Arts and Science Early College.
Any discussion by the board regarding that recommendation?
Well, the only conflict I have with it, I think it needs to have a name change, because of, performing arts needs to come out of it. But shouldn't it be, a STEAM program instead of STEM if they're gonna have arts in the name? If it's gonna call Crossroads Arts and Science Early College, it should be a STEAM program, not a STEM program. I'm just asking, because especially if you're gonna differentiate it from the other early colleges and the other things that are there, if they're gonna leave those arts there. If not, then it could be Crossroads Early College. And again, I'm outside the box here, I'm trying to be logical. You don't need to put STEM in there if it's STEAM, if you're gonna put arts in it. And if you're gonna take the arts out, then if they're going to senior high, like they were talking about, a lot of that was going, then what's there? So I'm just opening the question. I don't have an opinion. I'm just asking why it's that way.
I do think a lot of the kids in the early college program will access the visual and performing arts courses through Statesville High School now. Ms. Eller is here, and if she would like to expand upon that answer, just invite her to the microphone.
Will you come up to the microphone? Again, I didn't think about this earlier when Mr. Jackson was speaking from the back, but this is televised. And so in order for our television audience especially
Right.
to hear, and even those within the room.
Well, usually educators were pretty loud, so. No, so your question about why doesn't it have STEAM in there? We had talked about it initially about whether or not to have that included, and our concern was that part of the whole reason for changing or wanting to change the name in the first place was partly because a lot of people, the general public, doesn't know what VPAC stands for. And so we were considering STEAM as another buzz education type word, so we would rather it be something as simple as arts and science versus something that's going to be another acronym that people are going to have to think for a minute to figure out what the whole thing is. So again, with it being an early college, our target population are first generation college going families. And so again, just wanting this to be as obvious as possible so more kids will apply and seek out the opportunity and not have to figure out what does STEAM, VPAC, CCTL, all those different acronyms that aren't always so obvious to just regular people out there.
Did y'all talk about calling it just Crossroads Early College? I guess is my point.
We did. Originally, actually, that was the recommendation when we did our first committee of the whole meeting back in November, I think. And from there, actually, the staff worried that Crossroads Early College was too general, that it didn't say enough. So that's why we ended up adding the arts and science to it as our final recommendation.
Comments?
Well, I'm going to move that we accept school and the district's recommendation to change the formerly known as VPAC to Crossroads Arts and Science Early College.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Yay, thank you.
A lot of work over a long period of time, but it paid off.
Yes, I've already told other principals, never ask. Thank us, guys.
I don't think that works, Charles.
I don't think they need to do that.
All right, we have had the public comment portion of our meeting. I'll ask at this point, are there any board member comments?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I think we need to, and I would just like to recognize we lost one of our great teachers in the past couple of weeks. Ms. Shirley Hinkle passed away, and if you're from Statesville or the area, everybody knew Ms. Hinkle. She taught for 42 or 43 years. She started at DeMatt Thompson Middle School went and taught at college level for a couple of years, and then moved back and taught home ec. Back then, that's what they called it. They've changed the name a dozen times since. For 34 years at Statesville High School. She also directed over 400 weddings in Statesville. She was a real Southern lady and represented our school system well, and the community will miss her dearly. Thank you.
Any other board member comment? If not, we'll move on then to the superintendent comments. Mr. Johnson.
Dr. Cash, members of the board, I only have two things. I'd like to just remind everybody that this Wednesday, February the 10th, is our mid-year review. That will be taking place at the Unity Center from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. And you guys are more than welcome to drop by and watch us take a look at a progress report on where we are at the midpoint of the school year. The other item that I would like to remind you about is a makeup activity. We had this event scheduled earlier in the month, and it got snowed out. But on February the 29th at 6:30 at the Unity Center, I'm very proud of the fact that the school system is working in partnership with the city of Statesville, the NAACP, the Chamber of Commerce, many civic groups and churches in our community. And on that evening, we will be working together to collect input from the data, from the community on how our community would respond if something like we've seen in the national news were to take place in our community, be it a school shooting or some type of tragedy that involves a student, if it's just a dispute between these agencies as we work with each other. So that night, from 6:30 to 8:30, we'll be having our first of continuing dialogue and discussion about how we can create the kind of community that we want, and to be proactive in our conversations rather than to wait for unpleasant events to take place and then try to find solutions. So I hope you can join us for those events.
Time
6:30 until 8:30.
And what was the date again?
That is February the 29th, so on Monday, at the Unity Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We have other dates to remind you of here that's listed on the screen. I'll refer you there. The Early Release Professional Development Day on February 17th. School Work Day on February 26th. Our next Committee of the Whole meeting at the ADR Education Center, 6 p.m., March 7th. Then March 13th is our board's opportunity to do the mid-year review work, where the administration discusses with us materials that will be discussed this coming Wednesday for the school system. So have the mid-year review work session, ADR Education Center at 1 p.m. That's a Sunday afternoon, March 13th. March 14th is next Board of Education meeting here at the Iredell County Government Center at 6 p.m. Mr. Johnson, do we have reason to have any other closed session tonight?
No, sir.
Okay, so we finished our closed session business. So at this point, I'd like again to thank those in the audience for coming tonight. Thank you for bearing with us as we do the business that involves and hopefully improves the lives and education of our students in this county. Appreciate your support with us. At this point, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Mr. Kelly.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned then.
Just twist your arm with North End County, we're getting harsh and stuff.
That's the one in Asheville, yeah, Daisy. That's the one in Asheville.
Spring, the Cool Spring presentation, I thought about Lakeshore.